The great thing about filming these behind the scenes, whoa, that was my thumb. The fun thing about filming these behind the scenes videos on my phone is that I get to just walk around with it and make them a little bit less produced, but I think also giving you sort of like what exactly you want from behind the scenes content. At least I hope so. That is my my ambition. Right now, the video that I'm working on editing right now is the video I'm editing right now. Blah, blah, blah. Get it together, weeks. The video that I'm working on right now is my LGBTQ discourse video, and this has honestly taken me longer to do than Gone with the Wind. Like Gone with the Wind, I actually was done with quite quickly because that was just like, I had the idea, I had the research, I had like a kind of editorial book lit major thesis, so it was fun to do. Like honestly, I'm working on a thing about Mansfield Park and that's been like gangbusters. But with LGBTQ discourse, I'm trying to be very sensitive to the fact that we didn't get to have a really good Pride this year. We didn't get to have a really good, communal together for queerness, and especially with Black people of color, with everything going on, it's been extra difficult. So I wanted to try to make space for that, especially with Naya Rivera's death. I know for me that was a very triggering experience, and you want to, when it comes to queer discourse, in my opinion anyway, is be fair to the fact that we remember what it was like to be a young queer person trying to figure out how they feel, and sometimes you're using language that isn't very, for lack of a better word, not very accurate, but feels true. And you wanna, I wanted to in this video speak to the validity of the feelings that come with being part of queer fandom, of loving queer culture, of being a young queer person trying to find yourself in a very cis heteronormative space. But what I really wanted to try and do, and what I try to do with all of my videos, especially the ones that are social commentary and a little bit more put together, is to really express that in order for there to be real solidarity and real unity, there must be discourse about who's being left behind. And that's my whole thing with this video. It's not that queer fandom is inherently worse off, because I feel like a lot of queer people do take the effort, at least online, to speak up about things. But when it comes to, when you look at the sort of the community as it what it promotes, what it creates art about, which I think is also at the very core of it, you see it lean very white, very cis, and I think that those things bleed into every day, whether we mean it to or not, because it reflects our internalized biases, what we find attractive. I mean, that's why you'll see for a while how many couples were all like blonde brunette pairings or very femme. I mean, we don't have a lot of we have a lot of variety, but we don't have a lot of variance, if that makes sense. Like you can it's like a pick and mix almost. Like you have a lot of the same tropes within the same parameters, and it's not that I don't love a lot of those things and I don't get a lot of representation for those things, but there are vulnerable communities within this community. We have the Black trans community, which is under attack. You have non-binary folk, you have asexual people, intersex people who are being gatekept in very uncomfortable ways. And then you have wanting to have actual dialogue about what it actually means to have a spectrum of sexuality outside of aceness. Like the bisexual spectrum is very broad, but can some of that broadness be problematic? It's hard to talk about those things in a way where you're not gatekeeping, because I think what's hard is that you don't want to make knowledge and all of these things only be had by academics, because I don't think academics is and academia is the only place we should have discourse. But I do think it's important for people to remember that not every Black person, not every person of color, not every queer person is equipped, prepared to be an educator, to be an advocate, to be an academic, to be someone who's explaining something broader than themselves. Sometimes we have to acknowledge that the self is just a self. What can empower us, what can make us feel good, can be oppressive to other people, and we have to be aware of that. And sometimes it can be more complicated, sometimes it can be more nuanced than that. And I always strive to appeal towards the nuance, but it's so hard. It's so hard because even I have changed. I mean, a couple of years ago, I remember when Lost Girl was first coming out, and I was like, if Bo ends up with Dyson, this is bad bisexual rep. Even though I'm a bisexual woman who has mostly dated cis het men, you know, I was like, if she ends up with a cis het man, it's just bad because, like, enough of that. And it was me really feeling as though, like, real bisexuality had to include a woman and a woman in some way, whether it be a cis woman or a trans woman or a non-binary femme. I was like, it has to be that. But it was because I had to work with my own issues of me having not had relationships with women at the time, and knowing that as a bisexual woman that my queerness would always be called into question because of that. And once I got older and I unlearned that behavior and felt more secure in my queerness and dated more women and, you know, was able to explore my attraction to femme people and femme presenting people and all that kind of stuff within the spectrum of who I was not as reliant on media to be a reflector of that. Am I still critical of bisexual characters that don't get to have same sex and opposite sex relationships equally? Yes, because I think that I'm a person, we're people, we make choices, but I no longer felt like that, like if it's not that, it invalidates it because they all think that we're lying, you know. I unpacked that, and so I try with my work to encourage the unpacking that I've had to do. Because that is hard, it's work, it's effort, it's difficult, it's not easy to do, and it's hard to also put all of that into a video. And so that's why this video has been such a challenge to make, but I'm working on it now. I'm gonna try and have it done over the weekend so it can be, if not by the end of this week on Patreon, at the beginning of the month. I did try to put a lot of content in this month. I know it's not as much as I initially planned to, but I am trying to make sure that when I do video essays, they're quality, that they're well thought out, and it just means it's a little bit harder for me because it's not my go-to format. As you know, I love to just ramble on for 10 to 15 minutes at a time, but you know, I'm trying to live up to the expectations of this audience, and I hope that being able to do these behind the scenes videos for my, you know, $5 and up people helps. I'm trying to work on figuring out this podcast stuff because I want to do that, but I also feel like video format is just easier for me. So we're figuring it out together. I'm really doing my best. I hope that you guys can tell that. I'm gonna try and do more stuff with the book related content. Like, I really want to do more book related content on this thing and talk about my novel more, talk about writing more, talk about magic more. There's just so much more I want to do, but it's like full-time job plus this plus PBS. Plus I'm on this Lexapro, so I am tired like 99.9% of the time, guys. I'm like exhausted to the max. But yeah, we're getting there. So thanks for watching. Love you guys. Abby Mills Squad gang. We out here. We're doing it. We're gonna get there.